Let's talk about wax pens, razor blades, and reel-to-reel machines. My name is Freddy Cruz, and this is another episode of Your Mic. Now back to all that old school gear. Once upon a time, I was a baby radio DJ. I know I don't look a day over 50, which by the way is my age. But back in 1996, I was working my first full-time radio job at a radio station called KRTX Puro Tejano, or as it would say, Puro Tejano 100.7. We edited phone calls with reel-to-reel machines. You know, like when you watch WKRP in Cincinnati, that TV show, remember that one? Yeah, that was how we edited our phone calls. Using razor blades and a wax pen to mark the beginning and end of the spot where you wanted to splice out a phone call. And imagine a rookie DJ doing one of those corny, cliche nighttime radio countdowns, the top 5 at 8, top 5 at 9, or whatever the heck it was back at that radio station where I used to work. And oh man, it was hard. It was fun. Also super stressful, because think about the average song being between like 2:45 and 4 minutes. All right, 2 minutes 45 seconds and 4 minutes, and you have that amount of time to edit a phone call. Hey, where are you calling from? I'm calling from the north side. Give me the radio station, KRTX, or whatever what was said. That would do a number on one's blood pressure. I can imagine what the old guys, the guys that are my age now, can't imagine what their life was like. I imagine my blood pressure at 19, 20, and 21 was definitely at least a little bit elevated. Maybe 140 over 75 or 80. I don't know. I have no idea. But I've got a point, and I'm going to make it. Fast forward a little bit. I'm at my first full-time top 40 radio gig, and we get this magical machine called the VoxPro. Oh, the VoxPro is like a computerized reel-to-reel. So everything was on this little board. If you are in the podcast world, imagine a Rodecaster board, but you have a little toggle wheel and you can kind of scrub back and forth. And it was cool because everything was digital. And imagine this, an undo button. Where in my old world with razor blades, wax pens, and tape, there is no undo. You edit the wrong part of a phone call between 2-3 minute long songs and you are screwed, especially if it's a slow phone night. And at that particular radio station, the phones sucked so bad, but I digress. So imagine getting this upgrade to VoxPro. Oh my goodness. It makes life so much easier. We're so much more efficient at editing phone calls, and we can undo if we deleted something that we never meant to delete, right? And then there are upgrades. Oh man, the upgrades were amazing. We could insert record, we can take actual movie clips or whatever, and if you worked on the radio back in the day, you know all about having the best movie clips and how hard it was to get, because back then when the internet first came out, there wasn't something called YouTube where we can just kind of lift something from YouTube and pour it into the VoxPro, and I'm getting hives just thinking about how stressful it was to get these really cool movie clips. But anyways, you could insert sound effects and movie clips and whatever, your mom's voice. I'm not even kidding. You can insert multiple voices, or yours. If you screwed up something and you wanted to reinsert yourself saying it a different way, you can do that. Or if your listener wasn't really excited and you needed them to say something, you can stop and have them re-say it, like say it again, right? And that upgrade was incredible. You could also bleep, you can make special effects. So if you wanted to sound like you were in a Whataburger restroom, you can do that. I'm sure now that I'm out of radio and I really just do not care, I'm sure there are probably even more cooler upgrades to the VoxPro. I have no idea. I don't live in that world. Haven't even listened to the radio in years. Anyways, the whole point of this rant, nobody in the radio world ever complained about the VoxPro. Like, nobody. I don't know of anyone, and I knew a lot of people back then, but I never knew anybody who would complain about life getting easier. I just didn't. And I'm sure there's probably somebody grumbling into their coffee about, oh, these technological companies and their VoxPros and get off my lawn. I'm sure there probably had to have been. But for the sake of this argument, let's just say that was like few and far between. Like hardly anybody. And Houston's a big town. There are a lot of radio people. I just seriously doubt there are really that many people complaining about the VoxPro because, and hear me out, I'm no sociologist. I'm just going to guess that the acceptance of VoxPro within this microcosm of a community of radio DJs, think about how few there were and are, way fewer in 2026 than in 1996, but think about this for a second, how hardly anybody complained because it augmented, it improved our productivity. It helped us be better so that if we were going from a 4-minute long song into a song that was 2 minutes and 45 seconds and we had to get a phone call on the air in less than a minute after recording for 45 seconds or whatever, VoxPro made things so much easier. So much easier. I mean, think about it. Razor blades, wax pens, and tape. I'm surprised I never cut myself and bled to death. I'm bad with sharp objects. VoxPro augmented this small community of humans on the radio, making your morning drive, your afternoon drive, your evening shift at work, making it more fun because it was more fun for them, because it was helping them with their workload. That workload, manning the phones. What if we're looking at the AI revolution through the wrong lens? What if we're looking at it as something that is replacing us instead of augmenting us? What is it that you think it's going to replace you at? It's not going to replace you as you. It's going to make you better. Yes, it's about my previous radio life and a technology that really revolutionized the way we used to do work. And I'm sure it's made leaps and bounds since I left the corporate sphere in media. But there are so many parallels between VoxPro and editing with a reel-to-reel and razor blades and wax pens. And I never thought I'd be saying any of this on something called a podcast because podcasting didn't exist when I first started in radio, but here we are. And so I'm wondering what it'll take for you and even a small part of me who thinks that, wow, this is going to do some damage. It's going to be a net positive, sure. Just like the printing press, just like the automobile, just like every medical intervention or every medical invention, just like being able to take a credit card and enter your number into a computer, or putting a credit card into an ATM machine, or tapping on a device to pay for a soda at the gas station. Just like all that, we're resistant to change because deep down we know something is getting replaced or taken away. In the case of a credit card, maybe privacy. That is a real threat. In the case of the VoxPro, it's replacing something that made hosting a radio show really, really hard and augmented the hell out of radio hosts all over the world and made them better and more entertaining and more informative and more useful as public servants. And that was what we were trained to believe as radio hosts, that we're public servants. And I believe that to a certain extent as a podcast host. My challenge to you is to think about what these technologies are doing for us instead of thinking about what they can do to us. Let's say that again. Think about what these technologies are doing for us, how they're augmenting us, how they're helping us become more productive and spend more time on being us instead of being something that we don't really care to be. And I'll loop this back into podcasting. I don't think anybody really reads show notes. I know they're important. Yes, we link to episodes in the show notes. We talk about booking a call or a consult. We talk about specific episodes that we link to in the show notes, and that's important. It is. Also, I and a lot of other fellow podcasters, people who are smarter at this than me and more successful at this than me, also believe that nobody gives a damn about show notes. The vast majority of people don't, unless you have a specific reason to look at the show notes, like for special links, like I'll link this in the show notes. AI helps to create show notes and write them in Freddy's voice. And that is pretty cool. I am trained in audio production, not video. I'm not a videographer. Everything I've learned about shooting video, I've learned on the go through much trial and error. I do not know how to edit. I have learned on the fly. And Opus.Pro is another AI-powered software tool that has increased my productivity. I can tell you on the day that I'm recording this is a Saturday, I managed to produce 4 short form videos in less than 2 hours. And back in the 90s, when I first started in radio, I had no desire to get into, actually, that's a lie. I did want to get into TV, but I had no desire to get into video production. Okay. And to think that I now can edit and produce really sharp looking branded short form videos for YouTube and Instagram, and I can do so in just a span of maybe like 2 to 3 hours for clients and for myself, that is incredible. It really is. So let's again think about what AI can do for us instead of what it can do to us. And the threats, sure, they're threats. And I think that being a human in 2026 is a threat depending on where you live or who you are, what you're doing at this particular time of the day. Are you out in the middle of the night? Do you like to cross the street without looking both ways? Do you like to walk in the parking lot while glued to your phone? It's dangerous and to be a human, depending on the context. So that's my challenge for you for this episode of Your Mic. I'll say it again, just to wrap it up. AI can do for us what we never imagined. So if we think about what it can do for us, for me, for you, instead of what it can do to us, to me, and to you, then I think we'll be in a better place. And I appreciate you listening to this episode of Your Mic. If you got any use out of this episode, please consider subscribing and sharing with the anti-AI person in your life.